It looks like Joe Biden may have finally come to the realization that this bipartisan bullshit that he's been trying to accomplish during the first year of his presidency is just that, bullshit. He spent a year, Biden did, trying to extend, call them olive branches of peace to the Republicans, to the fascist Christians. He refused during that year to call out their filthy lies about COVID-19 and the 2020 election. And he spent all this time, this first year, trying to cut deals with a group of Republicans where it concerned his agenda. And, okay, he got a bipartisan infrastructure bill after it had been whacked to pieces and not much else. So Jennifer Rubin, writing at the Washington Post today, writes this: with the only conceivable bipartisan win already in his pocket, the infrastructure bill, Biden has shifted to a feistier, more confrontational tone with Republicans. It's about time, end quote. Yeah, it's about time. No shit. I wonder, I guess because Biden spent so many years in the legislative branch of government, and then, as vice president, 8 years as vice president, that I guess he still believed there was a chance to do business with the fascist Christians who have devoured the Republican Party. Joe, the Republican Party doesn't exist anymore. It's not there. On Friday, he made some remarks about the December jobs numbers that weren't very positive. And he made clear on Friday that whatever economic progress has been made has come over the objections and the refusal of Republicans to lift a goddamn finger to help it along. He took credit for job creation in December and rising wages. And he argued this is what he said on Friday, quote, how did that happen? Well, the American Rescue Plan got the economy off its back and moving again, back on its feet, getting over 200 million Americans fully vaccinated, got people out of their homes and back to work, even in the face of wave after wave of COVID, end quote. And then, if you saw any of that Friday, he went after the Republicans for trying to, quote, to talk down the recovery because they voted against the legislation that made it happen. They voted against the tax cuts for middle-class families. They voted against the funds we needed to reopen our schools. They voted against money to keep police officers and firefighters on the job. They voted against lower health care premiums. They voted against the funds we're now using to buy COVID booster shots and more antiviral pills, end quote. It's about goddamn time, Mr. President. I mean, this whole idea of being able to work with these fuckers, look, in less than a year, Mr. President, you are going to lose the majorities that you have in both the House and the Senate, and it's going to be fucking horrible. So anything that you need to do, you better get done now. And that means kicking ass and taking names to get it done. Biden went on to announce that he's not going to let Republicans stand in the way of an economy that the Democrats are trying to rebuild. He said this, quote, and now my focus is on keeping this recovery strong and durable, notwithstanding Republican obstructionism, end quote. It's about time, Mr. President. And he also went back to a theme that has, in the past, consistently helped Democrats win elections. And that is stereotyping, but it's true. And that is the Republicans are for the fat cats, for the bosses, for the capitalist swine who don't care about the workers. And the Democrats are for helping us. Call us the little people. You want to call us the little guy? Okay, we'll be the little people. He said on Friday, quote, for too long, Republicans have thrown around terms like pro-growth and supply-side economics to drive an economic agenda that didn't deliver enough growth and supplied more wealth to those who were already well off. I'm determined, he went on, to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, because when we do, we get more growth, higher wages, more jobs, and over time, lower prices, end quote. Well, he also made a speech on the earlier speech that criticized the Republicans. And his criticism of the fascist Christians, although he won't identify them as such, is noteworthy. And as Jennifer Rubin points out, a few things are going on here. First, with all the legislative attempts to get the Build Back Better plan passed, and fights with this son of a bitch, this fascist Christian Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Biden and some of the fellow Democrats have allowed Republicans' obstructionism and this all for the wealthy economic idea to go unchallenged. So shifting focus now from the stalled and ungainly and poorly understood Build Back Better bill to an economic recovery the Democrats jump-started through the American Rescue Plan without the help of Republicans, the idea of shifting focus to that is overdue. And I don't understand what it is about the Build Back Better plan that the average American doesn't understand. I mean, how many places have the highlights of that bill been published? This is what it does for health care. This is what it does for the economy. This is what it does for the environment. This is what it does for old people. This is what it does to reduce prices for prescription meds. This is what it does, on and on and on. What, fucking people can't read now? So every time I see that in print, even here, that for some reason, talking about the Build Back Better plan in detail is long overdue. Okay, that's probably true. Jennifer Rubin knows more about this as an observer than I do. But what the hell does Biden need to say? And why is it that the American public is so goddamn reluctant to hear what he is saying and to read what the Build Back Better plan does? And then pressure these bastards like Sinema and Manchin to get this passed. Because after November 3rd, or after the new Congress takes a seat, nothing is going to pass. Nothing. Unless it comes from these goddamn fascist Christians, and then hopefully Biden will veto it. So we're heading for a fucking brick wall. Do you understand that? I think you do. We're heading for a brick wall at about 80 miles an hour. And the Republicans know this, and they're gleeful as hell. So, Joe, President Biden, sir, please start kicking ass and taking names. You're going to have to, because you've got 11 months left, 10 months left, to get anything done. So what he's doing now, talking about the political success of the infrastructure bill that did pass, makes a lot more sense than trying constantly to fight this son of a bitch's Manchin and Sinema. I mean, they're because of who they are. They're not Democrats. They're Christian fascists, both of them. And they don't belong in the Democratic Party. They belong in the Republican Party, where the swine, where the swill, where the garbage winds up. But trying to talk about Manchin now, and I mentioned this on the weekend podcast, now Manchin says he's not even going to back the $1.8 trillion bill that he practically rewrote by hand and gave back to the Biden administration as a counterproposal. Now he's not even going to back that. So, as Rubin points out, even if the Build Back Better bill does not get through or is dramatically downsized, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere, Biden, Rubin says, will want to run on his party's economic record, and he has a good one at this point. Democrats need to take credit for job and wage gains if they're going to convince voters not to turn the legislative branch over to the fascist Christians next November. Now, a lot of the credit does not go to the Biden administration. It goes to workers who have said, fuck this. I'm not going to work for $7.50 an hour. I'm not going to work for $8 or $9 an hour. I'm not going to be a gig worker anymore. I'm not going to try to hold down 3 goddamn jobs in order to pay rent or make a mortgage payment, and I can't afford a car. And what am I going to do about childcare? You know, the workers have finally started to wake up, younger people, and say, no, fuck this. No. And the profits, the corporate profits right now are at record levels. Now, granted, yes, there are corporations that are waking up and smelling the revolution before it happens and are offering better wages and bonus packages, or benefit packages, I should say, and maybe assigning bonus to get people to come back to work. So while the Biden administration can take credit for setting the stage for this, this is a combination of the pandemic that we're entering the 3rd year with now, and workers, just common us folks, people like you and me. Okay, you're retired, but you know what I'm saying, who have said, no, we're not going to do this anymore. $7.25 an hour? That doesn't keep me in bathroom tissue. Are you out of your goddamn mind? $7.25 an hour. So maybe we're starting to wake up. Maybe Biden is starting to wake up. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.